Most lame duck presidents spend the last few weeks, the last 2 months of their presidency trying to pack as many people into the justices and into the judge categories as they possibly can. Not this president. He's doing that, yes. But this lame duck president is also trying to jam full the United States as much as possible with as many migrants. And most Americans don't have any idea what's coming. Let's jump into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and we're covering the things that the mainstream media just isn't covering. This is serious stuff. As we're into December now, most people don't realize that December is the busiest month on the illegal border. There are more illegal encounters along the border down south in December than any other month, and it has been for the last several years. So we're already expecting to see a lot of illegals trying to cross the border there. But then in addition to that, we have a big push both on the side of the migrants wanting to come across, and the Democrats are actually trying to actively push this. Some of the senators just penned a letter to President Biden. Senators Masto, Lujan, and Padilla wrote a letter to President Biden, open letter, calling for the further abuse of the temporary protected status, to encourage people to come across as quickly as possible. Let me just read this. This was a good summary of it. A few Senate Democrats are openly calling on Biden to get as many migrants into the U.S. as possible to ensure they stay indefinitely before he leaves office. That's what we're facing, friends. And while we're in Christmas and we're looking towards holidays and everything like that, some of you guys sent me Christmas cards since my address is down in the descriptions and on you guys have, some of you guys have found those. Appreciate the cards that you guys have sent. Much appreciated. Happy Christmas to you and happy Thanksgiving as well. But we want to focus on the holidays, right? But really, we need to be focusing in on taking our country back. Because if we don't get this right, what will the holidays in a year, 2 years, 3 years look like? Already in Romania, we see the High Court of Romania has invalidated their election and has called for a new election. Did you know that's possible? They said there was Russian interference. Why? And follow this twisted, weird logic. The guy that won partially because he took TikTok by storm. He got everywhere, all over TikTok. He had an extremely successful social media campaign. But because TikTok is owned by China, that means somehow Russia did this. And because of that, the High Court in Romania has tossed out the election and called for a new election. A redo. Can you imagine that happening here? Believe me, if they thought they could get away with it, they would absolutely do it. Problem for them is that the Supreme Court in the United States, a lot of them got appointed by President Trump, didn't they? President Biden, he's got not very many members on the Supreme Court that were appointed by him. Tough luck there, President Biden. Anyway, it might actually work out in our favor a little bit, having had President Biden take this term instead of President Trump having had this past term, though we would probably be in a very different spot if President Trump had gotten a second term at that point. But I think that we have hope looking at the future. President Trump is putting in change agents into Washington, D.C., but he's not putting incompetent people. Holden taking over the Department of Homeland Security, right? The border czar, and then the guy they just put in charge of Customs and Border Patrol, he was actually in charge of Customs and Border Patrol at the end of President Trump's last administration. So he's not like inexperienced. He's not like some guy that doesn't know what's going on. He absolutely knows what's going on. But in other places, he's put some serious change agents in. The Department of Defense, right? So we can expect things to change relatively quickly, but until he gets in office and starts implementing those changes, we can expect a lot of people to cross the border. And there's a lot of people here because of President Biden that we need to deal with. 7 million more people. 7 million more people. Do you know how many foreign nationals are inside the United States right now? 52 million. Now, some of them have green cards, okay? Some of them have green cards. Some of them, have other visas that are appropriate. They're coming in from overseas for college and stuff like that. Okay. But a whole lot of them came across the border illegally and have been granted legal status. Varying degrees of legal status. There's all sorts of deferments. They have been playing this bureaucratic game to get legal status for as many people as possible. Many of these people are waiting for their asylum hearings, which are scheduled for sometime next decade. And until they have their hearing, they are granted legal status. They are allowed to have work permits. They can get driver's licenses. And as they get driver's license in democratic states, they also get opportunity to help make decisions here in the United States, apparently, because we're not allowed to audit that. And things that aren't audited are things that are out of control. We got some serious issues with disease out there. And can you imagine why there might be some issues with disease? We're seeing diseases popping up inside the United States we haven't seen in generations. Because it used to be that when you came to the United States, we'd check you to see if you have any diseases. I know. It's common sense border control, right? We can talk all day about common sense boomstick control, but we can never talk about common sense border control. You and I think, would feel a whole lot better if we at least stopped everybody at the border and checked their identification. I don't know. Maybe have some guy with the deck of cards, with all the terrorists on it, and at least make sure it's none of those people. We just had just one large group that got stopped by Border Patrol, and I think they had like 20-some Afghans in there. Now, some Afghans are great people. I worked over in Afghanistan for a bit, and some great people there. And there's some really not great people there too. Some really awful people. And even the great people, they think about life differently than we do. And, some of them need to be kept an eye on, even though they may be on our side or whatever, because there's no such thing. We got tuberculosis popping up in cities. That's not supposed to be here in the United States. How many people are up on their TB shots? I've been traveling around the world and I'm behind on my TB myself. I need to get up on that. But most people in the United States don't have their tuberculosis shots or pills. Why? Because there's no need for it here in the United States because nobody has tuberculosis. Well, until recently. Now we have tuberculosis outbreaks in cities. And tuberculosis is a really tough thing to stamp out. It's difficult to stamp out in a person because it lives in your skin. You have to take like 6 months worth of continuous antibiotics to drive it completely out of your system. Because it just hides in your skin. And if you stop taking antibiotics before the 6 months, it's still there. And it waits until you get sick, until your immune system is compromised, and then it flares up and takes you out. And you can share it. And it's highly, highly contagious. So we should really kind of not let that into our country. It's difficult to stamp out, and it can spread like wildfire. Especially if it hits like a nursing home, if it hits some other place where people's immune systems are compromised, because everyone's gotten all the pokes and stuff, people's immune system are compromised. Tuberculosis. We got the Marburg virus spreading in the Congo and now has spread to Rwanda. That's a nasty bug. It's called the bleeding eye virus for reasons that you can probably imagine. We got another mystery epidemic happening also in the Congo that hasn't breached out of the Congo, but we don't even know what that is. Something is spreading in the Congo there. Then we got all sorts of other things. We got the Mpox, lately known as monkeypox, but of course that's racist somehow because monkeys are, I don't know. So we got Mpox, clade 2 spreading. That's a threat. It's a lot more deadly than the other one, and it spreads a lot more easily. You don't have to sleep with the person you're getting it from, unlike clade 1, which spread here before. And then we have the bird flu that basically has affected a large portion of the United States cattle and apparently keeps killing all of the chickens over in California. They get a PCR test and then they start slaughtering chickens like, the 1940s in Europe. I don't know why it's just California, but, you can imagine that the people who don't want you eating animal products all happen to live in places like California, and that's where all the cullings are happening. Coincidence? I don't know, but it just seems like their environmental people over there seem to be a little more overzealous than everybody else in the country. They just slaughtered another 1.7 million just yesterday. Egg-laying hens. Now, they've slaughtered some meat birds here and there before. I don't really mention them because they're easily replaced. The egg-laying hens are really what we're concerned about because they're a lot harder to replace because it takes a lot longer. 6 months from hatching to laying their first eggs. So it takes time. Meat birds, they can just pop out more meat birds, no problem. But we have 7 million more people here in the United States just from the 3.5 years that Biden has been in control of the government. And we're looking at maybe 300,000 to 500,000 people crossing in December. And you also have half of January to look at too. That's probably another 100+ thousand that are going to come across. And that's like baseline numbers. If we talk about the numbers being significantly larger than previous years, we could be looking at over 500, 600,000 new people coming into the United States wanting eggs. And there just aren't enough eggs to go around. You can quote me on that. That's the real reason we need to keep them out, to keep the price of eggs low. But housing shortages. Power. What would happen to the United States if we deported half of that 52 million people? 26 million people gone, and their apartments, their houses that they were in, available now for rent, for purchase. 26 million jobs. I say that. We know that many of them are not employed, gainfully employed. How many less murders will we have on the streets? It was shown over in Germany that 63% of all their welfare cases were people from other countries. In Germany, 63% of all their welfare weren't German. It sounds like foreign aid. And then you look at the crime rates in many of these countries. You see stats where the migrants are making up like 5-10% of the population of the country. And then you look at the murder stats and you're looking at like over 50% of the murders are committed by that 5 to 10%. People that theoretically shouldn't even be there. And you wonder why we're getting upset. This is why we're getting upset out there. Because it shouldn't even be happening, right? This stuff shouldn't even be happening. I mean, we know that those people shouldn't be here in the first place. They didn't ask our permission to come in. They just came in. If I just walk into your house, say in the middle of the night, that's not appropriate. That's not okay. No matter how much you like me, you don't want me showing up in your house. You at least want to know, hey, I'd like to come over to your house. And you'd be like, okay, Steve, come on over to my house. You'd like a little bit of warning, maybe just spot clean a little bit, right? We all do it, right? I got my family coming over for Christmas, and I'm already starting to spot clean, right? It's just not appropriate. People should only stay as long as they're welcome, and they should only come in when they're asked. We don't go and tromp down the doors of their countries without asking. We have to get permission to go to their countries. If they try overstaying their welcome in Mexico, it doesn't go well for them. Try going to Mexico without permission. See how that goes for you. Let me know how the prison there is, and how the prison food is, and how humanely you're treated. Because it's not going to go well for you. You will end up in prison with cartel and drug lords. And you'll probably get stabbed, because that's what happens in those type of places. They find something to stab you with, and you will get stabbed. We don't know what's happening in these next 50 days now? But we desperately need some semblance of order out of the chaos. Reports along the border are that the Border Patrol have been ordered to stand down and not intercept people, in the hopes that the interceptions number or the encounters number will go lower while people are still coming across. I don't even have words to say. The fact that our Customs and Border Patrol officers are being told not to patrol our border is kind of antithetical to their existence. And I know things are going to turn around soon, but they can't happen soon enough. Even New York is done with all these people coming into the country illegally, without permission. Their budget is breaking under the strain. And we're hearing word that people all over the United States are moving towards sanctuary cities if they have questionable legal status. I hope so. Hope it makes it easier to round them up. I hope that as we sift through them, we find the gems. And I hope we keep some of the gems. The people that really have found a new life here, who have been working hard, who have been paying taxes for years, who have been contributing to our society. And I hope the criminals, they say the criminals are the first ones who are going to get deported. And that's where it should start. The people who have abused things here. The next up should be those who have not worked but have just received welfare. They should be the next to be deported. Those who haven't stepped up and offered to contribute to our society. The world's a hard place. It's a rough place. And we should deal with compassion and love and respect as individuals and as a society. But governments must enforce the laws, or else they aren't societies at all. All right, friends. It's going to get to be an interesting next couple months here. We're going to get whipsawed here. A whole lot of people coming in, and then a whole lot of people hopefully leaving. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. Thanks so much for watching. Steve Poplar of The Poplar Report, out.